Hi, I'm Kalyan Karmakar, and welcome to Foodocracy for Her. It's a podcast dedicated to women in the food business, and I'm proud to say that it's been on since April 2020. And I must say that in terms of the various pieces of work which I do, is the one which I enjoy the most, which I find the most inspirational. And today it's absolute pleasure to bring to you a friend of mine, but whose work also I respect a lot. That's Vernika Awal. She's joining us from Delhi, and I'm in Mumbai. We met in Mumbai first time. And first things first, Shubha Vijaya, Varnika.
Shubha Vijaya Kalyan, such a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. So Varnika is married to a Bengali. Of course, we've known them for a while, and she's been in Delhi where some of the pujas are open. So sitting in Mumbai, I've seen far more puja posts from her than any Bengali over here. So tell me a bit about that, Varnika. Tell me about your experience of pujos, of being married into a different community. Is it really like the Vicky Donor movie, Punjabi Bengali marriage? Tell us a bit about that. Because you'd invited us, unfortunately, we missed that in Delhi.
The wedding totally was a scene out of Vicky Donor. Just the sides were interchanged. Language, of course, continues to be an issue, not for the two of us, but for the families in general. But I think the most exciting part has been how food connects us all. And although, like I'm a vegetarian and Shavik is a non-vegetarian, this is something which has worked out beautifully for us because both of us don't like sharing food. So,
so a bit of a Joey effect over there.
Absolutely. So like you eat yours, I eat mine, we eat in peace. We are much happier this way. So
I like this no sharing bit. But what happens when there's begun bhaja?
Well, you always have to make extra. I don't think there is ever enough.
And luchis and begun bhaja.
Oh yeah, there is luchis. There's a very simple rule. No one is going to be like, I'm not going to be making it. Someone has to make it for us, and you just keep it coming. We stop when we stop. But pujos were brilliant. The experience was really nice. It was not as big in Delhi as well, but thankfully, because there's a big presence of the Bengali community over here, so you have the Kali Baris, and that's where we went. It was very intimate. It was actually a nice way for me also to get introduced to how it probably must be happening once upon a time intimately within the society itself. So very, very nice experience.
Yeah, in fact, that's generally a bit of a case with us in Delhi. My mom's grown up there, Mumbai or abroad. That probably the traditions are a bit closer to the way it used to be than in the home city, like in Calcutta and so on. Like even the Punjabis, like it says that if you look at the Punjabis in say UK or the US, they might have a vision of India which is a bit more traditional than folks in Delhi, Amritsar, or Ludhiana young folks would have. But how does it? So you are learning about traditions from communities different from yours, and then how does it feel about writing about that? Because you write quite a bit about, say, puja rituals, puja foods, observations. So what's going on in your mind when you're writing about it? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question in a bit.
So,
okay, Vernika, you're the softest spoken Punjabi I know. You have to, after Dr. Manmohan Singh, please speak up a bit louder.
All right. So, to be very honest, I think the first thing that goes on in my mind when I'm writing about a community, where I've learned something about a community different than mine, there's this instant fear that is there in the back of my mind that I'm going to be called out for something that might just not, be right. So, I think the most normal thing which I do, and I always stated that, this is what I learned from someone, and that is what I'm telling you. I am not an authority over this. But yeah, the first thing is always fear. But I think because I come to, out so honestly about it, that people actually come and tell me, and, they share with me then even more about what they know about that particular tradition or that food. So I think it's all about, being as honest and being as transparent as you can be with people, because it's so easy for people to just see through that, right? So it's helped me grow a lot because I have been so honest with them about it. So thankfully that's worked out. But yeah, there is always that fear that, something might just be wrong.
That itself is such a sort of honest admission, because on the one hand, you will think that, okay, what is the big deal? Because it's Punjabi and Bengali, both sort of at least the same religion, same country. But we Bengalis do tend to be a bit possessive about our food. But interesting thing that you said about fear, and I think that that's a bit the way social media has moved. And the reason why I ask you this question is that I'm married to a Parsi. In fact, we're going to complete 20 years in a few days now. And I often joke with Kunal Vijayakar, no, I'm not married to him, but I often joke with him saying that he and I are probably the two non-Parsis who've written more about Parsi food than all the Parsis put together. But yeah, I mean, for me, it is just this enthusiasm of sharing and yeah, I mean, I put it out there that look, I'm married to a Parsi. This is what I'm learning from people. It's not that I'm grown up. There have occasionally been people who've been a bit nasty, but not too much. Also, what I feel, I don't know whether you feel this, Vernika, is that when you're writing about your sort of in-laws community, in a sense, your readership comes from a slightly different thing. Like probably, I mean, not so much Bengali as would be say Punjabi, North Indian, cosmopolitan, and similarly mine as well. So through your writing or maybe in my writing, more non-Parsis or non-Bengalis are probably getting to learn about the customs.
Absolutely. Yeah? So I remember, Kalyan, when we got married, so a few days after our marriage, when the first few pictures started coming in and all, I realized—
The first of many. The first of many.
I still haven't browsed through, so many of them, and I'm already tired of it. It's going to be 2 years.
When we got married, I took my dad's no more, his camera, which is a Pentax, and 36 rolls. So I made sure that those 36 exposures between the wedding at the court, to the lunch and dinner in Bombay for the family and Calcutta, all of it would get covered. But anyway, sorry, tell me about you. You were posting the pictures.
Because of digital now, I don't think any of us are doing that. There's literally no end to it at all.
Yeah.
So, one of the first few things which I did, and it came from documenting even the traditions which are followed in wedding. So from the first day, what all happens to even, to the Beau Bhat, which happened in Calcutta, every single thing was documented. And it became such a big conversation starter for all of the people who follow me on Instagram, because they started sharing about their communities. And that's when you realize that at the heart of it, all of us are following exactly the same traditions with different names and variations. So it just becomes such a big binding factor. And I think what helps is that it's, I have never used Instagram as just a visual first medium, but I also end up writing quite a bit over there. And I think that really, really helps a lot. So, yeah.
So with that, we'll now go to the various mukuts, or I mean, mukut is what I think the bride wears in the wedding. But enough of the wedding talk. The various hats which Vernika wears, and Vernika's come into writing a bit before the explosion of Instagram. I won't say before Instagram existed. So I feel that for those who came in after Instagram exploded, a lot of people started with Instagram first, including people who wanted to write. Yeah. Vernika wears many hats. So she studied communication journalism. She did her master's in that. Then she worked a bit with mass media in the Times, and then with Exchange for Media as a reporter writer, and then she moved to Mumbai, and then she sort of went independent. So Vernika, I'm going to come to your blog first, which is Delectable Reveries. Now, from what I understand, you've had a blog before as well, but at that time it was more like a diary, right? Before it was Delectable Reveries?
Yes. So I've had a blog on WordPress ever since I was 16 years old. So this is back in 11th standard in school. And I, of course, like I said, it was used like a personal diary of a sorts before that.
This is what blogs were meant to be.
Exactly, which is what it was meant to be. So I'd be writing about various topics and, my daily thoughts. I used to write a lot of poems, in fact. So all of those used to go up quite a bit. It was only in 2014 that I rechristened the blog to Delectable Reveries after I, started working full time with the publication and realized that it cannot go under my name anymore. It has to has to have that different persona of its own. So Delectable Reveries was that. So for a long time, people actually didn't know who Delectable Reveries was. It was only after I quit my full-time job and I went independent did I reveal, that I'm Vernika Awal and I'm writing this blog since so long. But the blog has been there. So it was started back in 2009. So it's more than 10 years old now.
So the same URL or the same
platform? Yes, just changed the name, because back then it was just a free blog on WordPress. I was just a student. And of course, I later kind of reworked the blog. So yeah, everything about it was changed.
So when you were in Delhi and a journalist, it had already become Delectable Reveries.
Yes, it had.
And then you quit Exchange for Media, took a break, came to Mumbai. And was Delectable Reveries about food even at the start, or only about food? Not really, right?
No, not really. So even now, it's not just about food. The whole idea of having the name Delectable Reveries just came from the fact that these are delicious memories. That's it. So it can be anything, So the center, you find food at the center of it all, but it's not just about food. So I don't have recipes to share with people because I always tell people, I cook for myself. I'm not cooking for people. So there are no recipes, honestly, to share, but it's stories about food and documenting, probably culture in terms of food and where it stems from. So that's what it's always been. And that's also always been the thing that's interested me.
So food is the anchor, right? That's what I meant.
Yes.
I mean, would you, for example, just to this thing, would you write, if it interests you, on something which is very political, or maybe something to do with something to do with fashion, whichever angle, whether it's traditional or fashion or modern fashion, but which has absolutely nothing to do with food? Would you write that on?
Probably not, because it's not something that interests me so much. But the moment you put a food angle to it, so like, if I'm talking about politics, and maybe politics in food itself,
or maybe like serving bhog in the pandal, wearing a salwar versus wearing a sari, which is more practical, then it comes in, right?
Absolutely. So like politics of food, the different types of food, the caste food, the food in the caste and everything. So yes, that, but otherwise not exactly. Like everything, like you said, food is the anchor for sure.
No, I understand that, because when I started my blog, Finally Chopped, then a couple of years down the line, I started two more, Faraway Diaries and Mumbai Coffee House. So Faraway Diaries was meant to be travel stuff, which is not to do with food. And Mumbai Coffee House was, at that time, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram was hardly there. So if I had a point of view on anything, when he's civic issue, or, when he's anything political or whatever, put it over there. Then with time, I found it a bit difficult to maintain 3 blogs with the same regularity. Then I saw that a lot of the things which interest me in travel center around food, so that can go into Finally Chopped. And for Mumbai Coffee House, then after a while, I guess one would put it on Facebook or Twitter and stuff like that. So I've been observing you for a while, and I've known you for a while as well. And I think that there are 2 parts to your sort of existence as a social media person, or your career as a writer so far, which is pre-Delectable Punjab and post-Delectable Punjab. So tell us a bit about Delectable Punjab. Which year did you come up with it, and how did it come up? And what's the difference that it made to you, both internally as well as the way the world perceived you?
Right. So Delectable Punjab was actually just a result of the fact that, because I've grown up in so many cities around India, the connect to my roots was really, missing. And I always say this, that I'm a journalist later, I'm a storyteller first. And as a storyteller, when I couldn't connect to my own roots and, something, answering a question as simple as where are you from was a question which was difficult for me to answer, because, I've grown up in Dehradun, Assam, Delhi, Bombay, So how exactly am I tied down to Punjab? So that's when it started, the whole quest. And it was not anything to do with Punjabi food per se, but more into my own family, because someone has to document it before it's all lost. It's a family which comes, with great history. And I wanted to know where my grandparents came from. What was it like? Why do we eat what we eat?
Which year was this?
This was in 2017, early 2017.
So you were still in your like early 20s or mid 20s, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think 4 years back, so I was 24.
Oh.
So I was 24 when it started, where I started documenting, and it started with a trip to Punjab. I had gone to visit my Bua, and I just started documenting over there, everyday things that were happening. And suddenly I see the spike in the interactions which people were having with me, like not in the number of followers, but the
And was this in the blog or on Instagram?
no, this was on Instagram. So Delectable
Instagram.
Punjab is completely Instagram.
No, and now I feel in any case the interaction happens a lot more on social media, whether Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, than on blog. I mean, I don't know if you remember time when in blogs there used to be a lot of comments, but now I mean it's just shifted there, so
I
it's
think the
fine.
blog has its dedicated audience who's there.
But the interaction, there's still people who read there, but just find it easier to comment on
Absolutely.
Facebook, which is a bit
It's not
sad
a
because
real-time
all those
conversation.
comments with the story don't stay with the story, but it's okay.
Absolutely. So the real-time conversations are actually happening on social media, which also I think helps in sparking that inspiration within you about, what more you can do. So that's how Delectable Punjab started. Like that was, and I didn't really have any plans for it as such. It was just documenting my everyday life. So I'm on a holiday and I'm just showing you what is happening at home. And it was only in December 2017 when I was so saturated with Instagram as a space, uh, that Shavik came up with the idea that why don't you just start doing like a dedicated series and see how it goes. It might also help you kind of channelize a little. And
So
that's
you guys discuss work and all that, and bounce off ideas of each other.
Totally. So it's literally it's like a mirror where you're bouncing off ideas. You know exactly what he's going to say, so I know exactly who to bounce it off to.
Does he ever dare to disagree with something you say?
I think he knows his way around it, how to go about.
I think all husbands figure out.
So that, but yeah, Delectable Punjab was, it was just a series of food, which was, of course, Punjabi food, as is served in restaurants is so different from how it is served at homes. So that was a misconception which I was trying to, work around where people.
Sorry to interject, but did you feel that about Bengali food also? Because I'm sure you've eaten a bit with your
Yeah,
in-laws and relatives versus what you have eaten in hotels and restaurants.
Absolutely. So, see, honestly, because once I got married, so almost wherever I would visit, even in Bengal, so everyone would be putting out the festive best. So it was very similar to,
to restaurant. It's not day-to-day food, yes.
Exactly. Plus, I'm a vegetarian, so I know exactly after a point what to expect, from someone. So it was nice. But now through home chefs, I've actually discovered so much more of even the Bengali vegetarian food.
Yes.
And that has helped because there's such
often the same dish, like even in a Delectable Punjab.
Yeah.
So the same, say a rajma or a dal in a restaurant would be very different when you're making it at home. Absolutely. So similarly, I mean, you might have a chana dalma or a shukto available in a restaurant as well, or a mochar ghonto. Or an aloo posto, but when it's made in a house, it's very different, and each house is also very different.
Exactly. So that in fact becomes a very interesting thing for me, that why is it that one person cooks it this way and where does that come from? So
going back to your Delectable Punjab story.
Yes.
So
yeah, so for Delectable Punjab, the whole idea was just to, put across food which is made in Punjabi households on a daily basis. And it just happened to be that, of course, as like many other communities, Punjabis also follow the local and seasonal ingredients in food. So the food is actually much richer and better in winters than it is in summers. And that's how the series started, as a winter series. I had no plans for it about where to go with it. It was, like I say, it stemmed out of boredom, the Instagram series at least. And then I did that lunch where I invited all of you guys. It struck me while I was doing the series that I've been cooking a lot, but I've never really cooked for my friends. And I think that it kind of just kicked off this thing where, because I did not expect such reactions, because everyone talked so highly about it, that I suddenly started getting calls from people that we would like to pay and come and eat. And that put me on this different trajectory where I did not know how exactly to go about pop-ups and pricing and all of that. Plus, because this was everyday food for me, so, I spot a cat.
Nimki.
Hi, yes.
He's gone up there. Yeah. No, so you're talking about the pop-up, the paid pop-up.
Yeah, so I did those paid pop-ups till I was in Bombay, and those were seasonal. So like I do 4 in a year. So just, the spring, summer, autumn, and winter pop-ups. And then I started writing about it because that is honestly till date, nothing gives me more pleasure than just writing. And that's where it picked up. So the first article about Delectable Punjab was my own byline authored, article, and that went in the Sunday Eye for Express.
Okay, Indian Express.
Yeah, and it just happened to be that it went on 7 cities in one day. So it just blew out of proportion, and I suddenly did not know. But the good thing that happened with Delectable Punjab was that it united a lot of Punjabis. Unfortunately, uh, Punjabis, as a community, they are they feel a little ashamed to, mention anywhere that, oh, we're Punjabis because of the stereotypes built about the Punjabis.
Oh, imagine, I would never have thought this. I would never have thought this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it comes from the funny people.
Yeah, the Sardar jokes and the easygoing and the Bhangra.
Exactly.
And, like I think this the Cadbury ad which they've done in Ogilvy, and I was hearing in some of the conversations, Kainaz, Harsha, the team, that the creative team was very conscious that the Sardar was chosen because Sardars are known as a community to be very loving life and dancing, but they were also very conscious not to make him do a bhangra.
Yeah, not like stereotype.
Not a twig, the Gurdas man.
Right.
Yeah.
So it ignited this kind of.
Should I at this point, like influencers today, say that this is not sponsored by Cadbury? Though I'm very happy to sponsor us.
I wish they had, but
yeah.
So I'll never forget this one mail I received from a girl in New Jersey who messaged to say that for all these years I have been hiding from people that where in India I come from.
Wow.
And after I started reading about your series, which was not just the dish, but so much an insight.
So across the world, people were
messaging from across the world.
And I'm finding this very hard to process. I'm finding this very hard to process. So you're saying Spain and New Jersey and all, because I mean, you might have sensed this because you have so many Bengali friends.
Yeah.
That we Bengalis have no qualms about we think like we are God's gift to the world. So we have no qualms about saying that we are Bengali. But one never thought that Punjabis would think. I mean, it just goes to show you that how little you know about people, and therefore how important it is to sort of tell stories. I mean, the way you are.
So I wouldn't say that they were.
So where else? You said Spain, New Jersey. Then
there was a man who follows me from Oslo, and it's amazing because he's gone on to become a great friend, and we interact a lot. And he's very, he's very much into the Punjabi politics, and so it's amazing. Then I connected with a lot of people from Pakistan.
Wow.
So, which was amazing. So, I wouldn't be revealing his actual name, but he's someone who has actually sent me photos from what used to be the place where my great grandparents used to stay. So it's been such a beautiful journey of everyone coming together, because we just realize that all that divides us is that line. So,
in fact, I must say, Vernika, when you were saying this bit about Pakistan, so see, the unfortunate reality is that, I mean, say Bengal and Bangladesh, it's still sort of my family sort of draws its roots to East Bengal, but it's still sort of accessible. But someone who was in an earlier Foodocracy for episode, Sherry of Kanak, this is a friend of yours as well. I think she sort of made you the guinea pig for her vegetarian menu. So Sherry was also telling that since she tries to do the food of undivided Punjab and Kanak, she was sort of reaching out to the descendants of friends of her grandparents who stayed in Pakistan, and the sort of bonhomie which was there, and how enthusiastically they were sharing recipes and so on. And I think that what folks like you are doing is I mean, that's the grassroots level at which peace and community building will happen.
Absolutely. And it's just beautiful because the moment you start connecting with people on such a personal level, you realize how blown out of proportion things are for an everyday man.
Yes, yes.
So, you
So
how
did that change you as a writer from inside? The way you looked at stories or you told stories? I mean, not just to do with Punjab, but in general,
yeah,
because
I
still at a
think,
very early stage. You were in your early mid 20s then,
yeah,
at a very young stage. So
yeah.
did it change you then?
Yes, absolutely. I personally think, and I'd like to believe that there's more maturity in the writing now than it used to be earlier. Because earlier also I would approach a subject, I would do my research, but now it goes beyond just the basic research. I'd go beyond it, and so many times you realize that I start doing. So, for instance, I have an article coming up next month, which was meant to be about the wedding foods of India, but we changed it into from dishes we went into ingredients and why certain ingredients hold.
How interesting.
So it's again, it's such a nice way where you see that almost all the four parts of India, how united they are at the core of it.
And this could cut across communities. So maybe like a Christian community and a Hindu or a Muslim
Yes,
community might use the same ingredient if they're from the same region.
exactly.
That's such an interesting way of looking at it. So so this is something, an initiative which sparked off from an inner desire, and then it sort of impacted the sort of work which you're doing. And did it then? I mean, please drop something. So did it change the atmosphere for you professionally, like in terms of the sort of offers you were getting or the opportunities opening up for you? Do you see that changing?
Yes, because this is something which I felt really happened after Delectable Punjab, that even as a writer, I was taken more seriously.
Hmm.
So one of the biggest changes that happened, because once I went independent, it was still very early, early on in my career that I
Yeah.
chose to go independent. So earlier I'd be approaching the publications with my pitch, but over the last few years, I am approached by the publication to
All right.
write something. And I think that has made a very big difference. And of course, to, then be seen as someone who holds some kind of knowledge on a subject. So it also drives me to keep learning more, because I always say this, I don't know everything completely. There's a long way to go. So I'm still learning.
And yet, it's not that you're pigeonholed as someone who writes only about Punjabi.
No, not at
So
all.
how did you come out of that? Because see, it's writing about Punjabi, which or Punjab, which got into prominence.
Yeah.
So how did you sort of break that through? That you're not just Punjab, you're more. You're the entire national anthem.
I think, Kalyan, what helped was that before Delectable Punjab, also Delectable Reveries as a page was quite popular,
Hmm.
and people were following it, for the stories or the pictures and all of that stuff. Delectable Punjab actually came as a break, as a series which was there for a short time. So it
Hmm.
established Delectable Punjab as a digital identity. And from there on, I made sure that, so that the meal which I did, for instance, was a meal to mark an end of that series. That from
Okay.
now on, we will basically continue talking about it, but not just that. There's so much more to it.
No, so it'll not just be aloo gobi. There might be some,
Absolutely.
fulgopi gonto as well, or
Absolutely.
yes, yes.
And I have always been very fond of, food from so many different regions and learning. So the page became more about things I learned and thoughts I have than just Punjab. And that's something I say that, I don't want to saturate myself also to the point with the whole Punjab, Delectable Punjab thing, where I begin to lose interest in it.
But that's an interesting note, because when I started off blogging or writing, there were people who took silos and who grew a lot. I think Minty also had something to say. He's quite vocal. So, like Bong Mom's cookbook, or there were people
Yeah.
who were writing about, Bavi Bright, Parsi, um, Maharashtrian, Punjabi, whatever. So, I mean, that was one way of doing it. And the other one was, of course, being a generalist. But I mean, I just feel that it's to sort of be an enduring phase. I mean, at one point you might run out of material if you focus
Absolutely.
on one thing, and also, like you said, it might, for you, it might fatigue you as a
Absolutely.
writer.
Absolutely. Like, I would obviously any day prefer to be a generalist where I can, then choose to dive into a subject and come out of it. But to kind of dedicate, I give it off to people. Like, I really respect the ones who have been, able to dedicate themselves so much into just one particular subject. But I know myself as a person, and I know that's something. So I still continue to read a lot about Punjab, but not everything needs to go out anymore.
But
You
to
know,
each their own, I guess. To each their
exactly.
own. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's more about identifying what makes you happy. So for me, it's this, like I continue to read, but I'm not reading it for people. I'm reading this for myself. So it goes
No,
out
and often that helps you make connections because the more you know about your own identity,
yeah,
and then when you come across something different,
yeah,
then so for example, in my case, not just Bengali, but say one might come across something internationally, and then it might help you connect with something within the country. So for example, you might have come across something, say in the Malayali food tradition, maybe to Marina or something like
yeah,
that, and then maybe later sometime in Sri Lanka, Maldives or Mauritius, you might make those connections. Or I remember when I got to London, I'd given a talk on Calcutta food at Asma Khan Singh many years back and
right.
stuff. So now, among some of the main publications you've written for, you've written for Indian Express, for Zest, and who else?
Travel and Leisure magazine.
For Travel and Leisure. So now, do you focus more on the commissioned articles over your blog, or do you sort of give equal, or is there no fixed rule? Is it
Uh,
more as it?
I do focus more on the commissioned articles and on Instagram, I think simply for the ease of it.
Instagram is of course not commissioned. Instagram
Yeah,
is your
no,
own.
no, it's not. So I do focus more on the commissioned articles, but I think it also again stems from the fact that I got bored of blogging, in the middle of it. So I took a break. But what I do end up doing is that after my article's been published in a publication, I put the unedited version with the link to the original article of the publication on my blog. So it also, of course, with the word limits and also there is no word limit in the blog. So it's free flowing and
In
it
fact, I
really,
wanted to ask you one thing,
yeah.
that on this word limit thing, see, I've seen you write very detailed posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
You never felt the desire to then take the same text and put it on your blog as well, because it's more content,
Yeah.
it's more searchable, and honestly, I mean, for your readers who are in their 40s like me, sometimes on a phone you don't want to read so much. Like in the Instagram format, is still,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
after a while it just gets, yeah. Have you never considered it, or is
I've
it
actually always done that,
so?
except the last few months. And I
Also,
also,
the frequency of Instagram just makes it a bit.
yeah, and I
Difficult.
also do the reverse a lot, which is something which I also give advice to people that, you should have a blog. Firstly, because it's your own domain. So there is no way of losing it, come what may. And the fact that from one post I can actually take out 10 posts from Instagram. So I prefer to write on the blog and then take excerpts and put it out on
Yeah,
Instagram,
true,
which
true.
helps. So because you're there and you can always redirect the people to the article, so it becomes a great way to kind of cross connect the two
Hmm.
platforms.
Okay, so this advice part, this thing. So let me see what all you do, which I'm aware of. So the blog is there, which is now not primary. This thing. Then there are articles you write, commissioned articles. There Instagram. Um, Very occasional pop-ups where you're actually cooking. You also do a fair bit of brand work, and in both stuff where you're behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. So is it fair to call you an influencer?
I guess I would call myself the micro influencer in the today's term of it, but influencing for sure. And
What's the difference between micro influencer and
oh, the ones below 50K.
influencer? Yeah, okay, yeah,
And
50K in Insta.
on Insta, of course, on Insta.
Sometimes some people add up everything. I've seen like big chefs and all.
Yeah.
Like we are 3 million in all social media. You put in YouTube,
No, no,
Google. There's
I'm talking specifically for Instagram because I think even
uh,
the brands are more focused on Instagram now.
uh,
And this is a conversation, in fact, I had with a friend who has a brand of her own, and she mentioned how more brands are now switching to work with the micro influencers because of a majority organic reach than the bigger ones, which I think helps because you can see the interaction. So more and more people now, instead of chasing numbers, we finally are back on track where people are chasing, well, the right kind of engagement. So that helps.
So everyone trying to increase your numbers, bring it down quickly, bring it down,
Bring it
bring it
down.
down.
Not helping anymore.
Okay, now this is the point of the interview at which you stumped me, because when I all this while I had this question prepared, that I'm going to ask Vernika that, are you an influencer? And like a lot of people whom I know, she said, no, I'm not an influencer. I'm a writer, I'm a content creator, I'm a thought leader. I'm not an influencer. Just as people sometimes like to say, I'm not a blogger. And then what I was going to tell you, but you sort of killed that punchline. But I was once having a chat with Alex Hunt, who runs Attache Travel, the YouTube channel,
Right.
and we shot together twice, once in Bombay and then at Delhi. So he told me, okay, so you've not brought up this issue, but I'll so he said that he once had attended a very big summit on social media, like the top people over there and all that.
Right.
And one of the things which came up, and this 3 years back maybe, was that there are influencers and there are people of influence. And the reason for saying that is that a lot of people now put influencer in their bio.
Yeah.
So so the point is that if you have to say you're an influencer, it's a bit of a problem versus people saying that. But people like you are people of influence. And in fact, you just spoke of something which I was unaware of, which was lovely to know about, that writing about your community, which is the Punjabi community, which is probably the most vocal community in India. It has, given the most number of film stars. It's the most number of restaurants everywhere. It's the richest state, and whatnot. It's the most popular dance form in Hindi cinema, everything. And people over there actually find a sense of insecurity talking about them. So in a way, without intending to be that, by just sort of talking about what's in your heart, you became an influencer, which is very lovely. But there is another aspect to Vernika, which I don't know whether that started before Delectable Punjab, but she started doing, she's there only, she started doing workshops. And initially, if I remember right, there were social media workshops. Then there were workshops also which moved into food photography and then video. And initially, these were on-location workshops. And then after the pandemic, you went into online, right?
Yeah.
So what was the thought behind getting into workshops, and why did you choose these areas, which is social media, photography, video? Why not, for example, cooking workshops or styling as in whatever. I mean, that's beauty is such a big segment, or styling of food and all that. So what was the thought behind your starting workshops?
So the social media workshop actually started sometime, I think, in September 2018.
I remember attending maybe the first or the second one.
Yeah, I think you were there for one of my last ones in Bombay, the physical ones.
Okay,
which was in July 2009.
In Juhu, yes.
Yes. So it started.
But I've attended that online as well. So social media one, and then your photography and your videography. So tell me a bit of the thought process behind that.
So the whole idea behind these workshops, so initially it was just social media workshops where it's nothing but actually teaching people how to navigate through social media, because now almost everyone is online, but very few people actually know how to work their way around social media. It can be a very daunting platform, to be very honest. Also, it's such a saturated space. So how do you make a mark? And most of the people who were attending my workshops are people who are either small business owners or home chefs, not bloggers, because funnily, I think almost we have this within the community that, oh, we know it all. So we are not going to do this with a fellow blogger, which I can understand. But most of these people were women above 35, women starting small businesses, who were home chefs, and they wanted to learn how to navigate through this. So that's how the social media workshop started. And then it struck me that, once they start growing, they also want to understand how to do photography, how they want to do videography. And these are features which are being rolled out by the day on social media. How to make it easy for people, because the one thing which almost everyone has today is good smartphone cameras. But at the same time, people don't know how to make the most of their cameras. And I think this is where Shavik and I kind of combined both our expertise together, because I've not seen anyone who knows cameras the way he does, and how calmly he can take people through the technical bits of it. So we just combined the two together, and we focused on workshops which were solely dedicated to mobile videography and photography. And we've had more than 300 people over the last, especially in the last 1 year. I've done almost 15 workshops in the last 1 year of the pandemic. That's when it started to grow. And I think taking it digital helped in, not confining it to a particular geography.
Yeah.
That really helped a lot.
Because I remember recommending a lot of home shares, bakers, and all that to your, we had people that were joining from Bombay or different places and stuff.
Thankfully, it's a big community even today. So we have WhatsApp groups of almost every batch of the workshop, which is still active, and we don't leave it at that. So it's not that the workshop ends today and then there's no follow-up. But even today, after all this time, we still have people interacting. If I learn something new, I instantly send it to them. The guys, try this out or something. So we've built a community around it, and I think that has really helped. Having that personal connect, and it's just been good. Yeah.
So where all do people find out about it? Because Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, where do you announce?
Instagram. Instagram is...
And do you sort of boost your things, or you just put it over there? And
it's very organic. And
sometimes people tell other people also, right? I mean,
yes,
it's not that they might join themselves, but...
Like you who have been spreading the word for me, the word of mouth. I have so many people joining in because of that as well.
No, and that's a good point you made about other bloggers. So I must say that towards the beginning of the pandemic, or not beginning, like when you started doing these, then Kenas was telling me that why don't you join some of these workshops, because it's always good to learn. And so I have attended your workshops on social media, on photography and videography. And I have attended workshops by some other people, institutions, organizations, whatever, in the same space, which is videography, photography, social media. I mean, of course, different workshops. But what I've always found about your workshops is, and I've told her that as well, is that you always come out with something which is usable. Like I've always attended a workshop and then taken at least one thing and maybe a lot more, which I've then implemented in my work. And there've been, especially I remember after the photography one,
yes,
where there was a big change, and there were tons of people writing to me saying that, there's been a big change. Then I said, I attended this workshop, and then probably that then gave people the sort of, so there are various things which you do, because you also teach. So your workshops, you've also been a part of the Mythopia Kurush Dalal faculty for studying food workshop, where you take a session on branding, your columns which you do for various media, and as well your this time the India rep of host Milano. Unfortunately, travel might be an issue, but you're writing these articles on India for the. So there's writing, there is teaching, there is a bit of cooking, maybe, and then there is brand work. So largely 4 things, right? Cooking, teaching, brand work,
writing,
eating. Okay, eating is not right. So which of these do you enjoy the most?
Writing, any day.
Which of these is most remunerative? I mean, generally,
the workshops.
The workshops. But do you enjoy the workshops?
Oh, I completely do. And like for me, so with each workshop, so how we divided into a theory and a practical round. So for me, the most fun part is the practical, because for every practical...
Because Shovik takes the theory.
Oh yeah, he takes a theory, and so people get confused. And then practicals is where you start kind of making sense of whatever you've learned. And the fact that every time, whichever dish we are shooting, or, whatever we are doing a video of, every time I'm more excited about what can I cook this time for the workshop.
Yeah.
So it combines so many things together. So I really honestly enjoy the workshops. And my favorite part is post the workshop when
all the discussion and everyone comes, I've taken this picture, I've done this video, see my cat is running.
Yeah, you mentioned your pictures, and I remember the first picture that you sent, and Shovik and I we were just smiling through and through.
Because the next day I think there was something which was cooking or whatever. and in different stages I was posting the pictures. I think some food while Bengali food while growing up, and then writing this. And I did a series of things around the same dish at different
Yes, yes. And it
angles
was
and stuff.
fabulous because,
And
you
there
know,
were other
depth
members
in
in
the
the class
pictures.
also who were doing it. I
Yeah,
mean, I was not there. And
yeah.
that's the other thing, that a lot of your students are sort of old fogies like me. So how's that? Like, is that intimidating? Like, teaching people who are 20, 30 years your
Not
elder,
at
40
all.
years your
Not
elder?
at all. It's a
Uh,
running joke in my family that I don't have friends my age, and it's not even a joke anymore. It's true. So all the friends in my wedding were all 50 plus.
50 plus. No, no,
Yeah, yeah.
sir.
Oh,
Acha, but I wasn't at your wedding.
you
Go
weren't
enlighten me
there.
that I can.
Purush was there, Ria was
Yes.
there, and
I don't
uh,
think Ria
we
was 50 then. Huh? She
we are
will take
turning
this
50
kindly.
soon. We are turning 50 soon. But yeah, everyone was like, okay, what is with your friend group? I have always, since I was a kid, always gotten along better with people older to my age. Probably an older sibling syndrome, I'd call this, but
You're the elder one, right?
I'm the elder one. So you
And
all
your brother used to keep changing the
the
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
password.
password, it's not,
The
oh.
the rumor goes that that's one of the reasons why you decided to get married quickly, because of the Wi-Fi password, Wi-Fi password being changed.
Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi password, even at our place in Delhi, is such that if someone asks me, I can't give it because shop
Shovik knows that, is it?
privacy.
You should complain to the women's cell about this. It's not that.
Oh, it's
But you live in Delhi, not even Haryana. This
I
is
know, but that's where I think the cybercrime department's gonna back him up, saying that he's doing the right thing.
yes.
But
Okay. So now I want to, we are coming to the close of this session, and folks, you're seeing like a very happy, smiling Vernika today, but it's the past 18, 19 months haven't been easy on anyone, and you've actually been quite vocal about it.
yeah,
Not everyone sort of wants to put what they're feeling out there, and which is fine. That's no issue. But I mean, you were in a way just in a new phase of your career when lockdown, no contact with people, no going out. Also, a new life. I mean, even if you guys have known each other for a while, but still like a married life together and all that will have its challenges. So, what is the learning which you took out at the end of this 18, 19 months, like through all the dark days which you went through, and the challenges, and I'm sure challenges will come up in the future.
yeah.
But what is it? What are the learnings that you took out which you'd like to share?
I think honestly, it's a continuous process. It's still like an ongoing process. And like you said, we had just shifted. I had just shifted to the city, and when this happened, and there've been dark days in the sense that suddenly I couldn't make head or tail about what I want to do because, well, a new place and there's no getting out of home, what to do, so all of that. But I think what really helped me is knowing that it's okay to just take a break. And uh, the fact that my Instagram has never been a space for brands but for myself, so I did not really owe anyone anything. So when I want to take a break, I take a break. And you know how I told you initially that the one thing I've always been on Instagram is very transparent, very me. So it's funny when you think about it now, but you know how people who've probably never even met you, how they kind of start gauging your moods. So a lot of people started messaging me that we can see a difference in the way you're photographing or the way you're writing. Are you fine? I think that comes as a wake up call that, okay, maybe I do need to take a break. And I have been doing that. So now I post only when I really feel like posting. I talk
And
only.
you didn't mind that people writing to you that
No.
they wrote with genuine concern.
Yes, absolutely. And also these are people who've
Because
been
once I
impacted.
remember you wrote about like people sort of supposing stuff, basis stuff you'd written, I think about some
Oh
wedding
yeah.
thing or
I think
something.
that's something that keeps
That's a
happening.
one-off. That's a
That's a
one-off.
one-off.
So,
But
so people who are actually writing out of, so it's not that bad a space, social media.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's literally, I always say it's a space which you make it to be the space you want it to be.
Hmm.
If there is something which has troubled me, so if there is something which happened probably a year back where someone who was close enough said something, I felt it was important to probably address it. And that also, it's always been a space where I've come exactly like this is who I am and this is how I'm coming out to you. and that has helped. I'm glad that it's also giving so many other people, a space to talk about how they feel. So I think as long as we are all able to just not internalize it and just have that space to talk and build community around you, that really helps. I have so many friends, in fact, now who are friends because of Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was a blog, then Twitter, not so much Facebook, because Facebook people
Yeah.
are your friends when you add them
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
any case. But for me, it was blog. Then I made a lot of friends through Twitter. Now through Instagram, though I think some of the stronger friends are made through blogs simply because age and all that.
I had a
Okay, so
friend
that is
last night and we exchanged numbers at the end of our meeting, realizing that, oh, we've always been talking on Instagram.
when was
And
this? Sorry.
this was last night. I met Sanhita Dasgupta. She's a brilliant home chef out here
Okay.
in Delhi. And we've been talking on and off, but always on Instagram. And at the end of a meeting, we realized, oh, we don't have each other's number. We've always been talking on Instagram. So
Yes. Yes.
it's been a space, you make it to be what you want it to be. So
Awesome. So before ending, I want to ask you about this initiative which you've just started, which I found really interesting. I think you finished one round and you're
yeah.
listening where you and having known the workshops which you do, I'm pretty sure they will be like very, very useful to people. That you're doing a sort of I don't know, would you say a social media course for small
Uh,
business owners, home chefs? Will you tell us a bit about that, and
yeah.
what are you trying to do through that?
So it's a very personalized hand holding kind of a thing where, it's only like 3 spots for, only 3 people a month. But it's a month-long thing where you basically introduce your business or whatever you want to do.
So who are the students? Like
Uh,
what is their
yes,
background?
small business owners or consultants who are looking to, build themselves as a brand on social media.
Need not be from food.
No, need not be from food because
Okay. Yeah.
so the program is made in such a way that it caters to you and specifically you and your business, because the first 1 week is just spent in
So
understanding.
you could be an interior designer, you could be
Yes,
a chef, you could be
yes, yes,
a sports coach, whatever.
yes.
Okay.
And it's not something where I'm taking, continuous everyday workshops, but once in a week we all kind of meet online. There's a presentation that happens, and then we take it from there. And I'm in touch with everyone every day through calls and Instagram and through WhatsApp, where I'm helping them. So it's more of a help in terms of, so this is something I've been doing for the last 3 years. It's only now that I've opened it up for a lot more people.
Earlier, you've done one-on-one with business home
Yes,
sales
in
business.
fact, Marina, who's a great friend of both of us, I started with Marina. There's
In
Smita.
fact, she often talks of you, Marina, Smita Dio, Karid, right? Yeah, Smita Dio's thing is?
Smita goes as Smita the official, but she also
No,
does.
her YouTube channel is.
She does videos for Rajshri, so different productions of.
Okay, there's someone who does Karid, Get Karid.
Get Curry. She is on Get Curry.
Get Karid is her,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And Marina Balakrishnan. And
Yeah.
Marina's used social media so well to build her
And she's doing a
brand and
fabulous
personality.
job. But Kalyan, I remember the time when this was 2 years ago, when Marina, I used to message Marina at 9 a.m. and then 9 p.m. Marina, have you posted? And she'd tell me, she's like, Vernika, you're being a doctor. How do I do this? I'm scared. I don't. And she's doing a fabulous job today, where she's learned to enjoy this platform.
Yeah, it's so natural, like, because see, sometimes people also ask me this question that, I'm not very active on social media. So first point, I think, which you made very well, is that you need to, if you're running a business, you need to disassociate your personal likings. There's certain things which you need to do for your business. But having said that, you don't need to become a different person because I think what is the beauty of what Marina has achieved through Utupur. I'll talk more about that than Smita's, because Smita doesn't really run a business. But it's very reflective of who Marina is. I mean, when I meet Marina, I know there'll be no surprises, because her brand is such a reflection of her beliefs, her philosophy. So you actually did this transformation in someone, huh? And she's probably one of the most talked about brands. Of course, her stuff is very good. So it's not just
fabulous. So she was practically a neighbor back when I was in Bombay, and whenever she'd make something, I just go to her place. And while eating those appam and stew, I'd just be telling her like, what are you doing and why is this not going out to people? But it's amazing, and it's a bond which, this is what I mean to say, that it's not just about doing business, but it's also about bonds which you create from with them later.
Exactly.
Today I go to Bombay and I know that if there's a surprise meal just coming my way, I don't even have to ask for Utupura. Utupura is waiting. So, but it feels so good to see that that you were able to help someone, even if in a small way, to just realize their full potential and make the most of it.
Yeah, even Dinel talks of that. So
Janelle,
that's the sort of change which you're trying to bring
yes,
in your workshops with people, and
yes,
probably even more.
yes.
So that's fabulous. That, folks, is Vernika Awal of Delectable Reveries. She says she hangs around with people elder to her, but I must say that on these young shoulders rests a very wise head. But I think it's absolutely fabulous, the sort of work which she's doing. And if you're looking at inspiration in terms of how to conduct yourself in social media, or how to write, or to actually attend classes in terms of how to improve your skills, then she's your woman. So
Yes.
thank you, and wishing you all the best for the festive season coming up.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully, oh, we worked together, by the way. We've once worked together on a project for ITC MasterChef Prawns, Vernika, me, and Shavik. So
Memories frozen, freshly frozen memories
yes,
forever.
yes. Well, it's an absolute delight and pleasure to see
Absolutely.
the lengths you've traveled since then. So all
Thank
the
you.
best, and do take care. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.